Today, big tech. Congress aligns on one thing. They won't break it up.
Then Twitter hackers get nailed.
And what's going on with TikTok?
Finally, a video game you need a prescription to play.
That's all on today's Future Forward. I'm Stephen Rosenbaum.
And I'm Alexis Scordato. Let's launch.
Hey, hey.
Hey, Steve.
Greetings and salutations.
It is August 1st.
Weird, right? Did we know this? Did this happen magically? How did we know?
We're almost getting through the longest year of our lives.
Yeah, no, that's true. So we have three things we're going to do today. We're gonna do the big tech breakup. And by the way, maybe what I said is a little bit rhetorical because they seem to all want to break it up, but not in the same way.
Yep.
Then we'll dig into this Twitter thing because we should, and we might have to get to TikTok sooner because there seems to be holy shit elements that are coming unfurled
right now.
Yeah,
today.
yeah. And then I have some other stuff too. But let's just start. So, how much of the hearings did you watch any? Could you?
I saw like clips here or there. I mean, it was very funny to even just see it take place on Zoom, just like in that format, right?
Yeah. So I had a take on that. I mean, I think it was political theater at its most egregiously terrible.
Ooh, okay.
Just because, well, I mean, everyone had an agenda, right? So, the Republicans had an agenda. They had a script they were going to read off of. The Democrats had an agenda. They had a script they were going to read off of. It wasn't clear to me that that anyone learned anything or said anything. And to be fair, I mean, the CEOs had an agenda, which was to look stalwart, take as much time as possible, and essentially not make themselves into a headline.
Yep.
Right? I mean, essentially say nothing.
Mm-hmm.
So nothing was achieved. I didn't learn anything. This is the new thing out of Washington. Everyone's like about running the clock. Let's just run the clock.
I thought the line of questioning, though, was significantly better than the last congressional hearings. Like, I felt like the last time around, it was sort of like, that, there are a lot of people who used your platform. It was just like basic stuff.
Yeah. I don't. So look, there's some obvious stuff, right? I mean, in terms of low-hanging fruit, you could go through straight up antitrust and say Amazon has to divest of AWS. What would that mean in the real world? AWS is a massive business. Snap it off like a twig, it goes and grows fine. Amazon has a little bit less free cash flow to play with in terms of crushing competitors like a bug and buying things. But they're at a place now where, I don't think it's going to make or break either company. So, I mean,
I actually chuckled when Jeff Bezos made the claim that he has tons of competitors when it comes to e-commerce. I mean, what? Like, is he actually comparing, I don't know, like the rinky-dinky, like, I don't know, local Shopify site selling, I don't know.
All right, let's play that out. So how many years has Amazon been the king of the jungle, 800-pound gorilla? Oh, we own the universe. Not 10.
I don't know. For me, I guess for me, it's like I was given a Prime account as like a college perk. So for me, it's actually been over 10 years that I've been buying things on Amazon.
All right. But with all due respect, not the Alexa personal experience. In the universe, like the moment where they kind of start, I mean, retail kept going down, they kept going up. Walmart couldn't get out of its own way. Let's say they've had absolute dominance for 5 years. So the thing about entrepreneurs is they don't wake up thinking about where they are. They wake up with all of the anxiety and history of being in that little office, sitting on a cardboard box, not being able to make payroll. So So Bezos knows, the position he's in hasn't been forever and won't be forever.
Maybe. I don't know. I don't understand the psyche of the rich, powerful enough to know if they calculate what the end game is.
No, I don't, well, at the risk of taking up the entire podcast, let's just end the congressional hearing chapter by saying it was kind of a shit show. Nothing was learned. There's, it is worth remembering for those of us who pay attention to Section 230 that it is the one thing in which Democrats and Republicans actually agree. If Joe Biden becomes president of the United States, he has said, now he could always roll this back, but he said as a campaign promise that he would disassemble Section 230.
Right.
Everyone thinks that the social platforms are too powerful. It's just a matter of how you want to address it.
Yeah.
Conservatives think that Facebook is out to get them. I don't know what evidence they have, but
so if you had to wave a magic wand, I mean, what do you think is the ideal outcome? What should Amazon do, Google do, Facebook do?
So here's why that's a really funny question. You don't even know this. I got an email out of the blue from a professor last week. He said, I've written a paper. And he said, I heard the talk you gave on Section 230 at South by, at the virtual South by. And my paper is titled Steve Rosenbaum's Magical Theory. Because I talked about waving a magic wand. And I think the answer is, and my smarter friends, I'm just borrowing from them, you have to modify Section 230. You're not going to disassemble it, but you're also not going to let, you're not going to let this fantasy that Facebook and Reddit and Twitter and YouTube aren't publishers continue. Because having the amount of power that they have with no responsibility is what's gotten us here. And yes, that's going to open up a massive liability nightmare, but I think that's what the courts are for.
I hope you're right, Steve.
All right, so let's move on to TikTok. We'll jump over to TikTok and then we'll come back. So I am not a regular user of TikTok, although I did tune in when what's her face, the White House counselor's daughter, was publishing anti-Trump TikToks, just because Kellyanne Conway. Because how could you not? So, I mean, from what I understand, TikTok is currently owned by the Chinese government or a Chinese-controlled entity.
Yeah, called ByteDance.
Right.
BYTEE.
And they're going to spin it off, and Microsoft is going to buy them. Supposedly. But before Microsoft buys them, Trump's going to come up with some magical presidential edict and shut it down.
Yeah, I mean, as of, I don't know, yesterday, there was a headline published saying that Trump would take executive action as soon as today, Saturday, and ban TikTok in the US.
But I think he changed his mind. And instead, today's executive action is going to be on Mondays and Wednesdays, everyone needs to wear blue socks. And on Tuesdays and Thursdays, everyone needs to wear white socks. I mean, I'm pretty sure that at this point, I don't understand how executive action works. I don't understand how the president has, now.
I mean, it's the equivalent of when he said the other day he's going to move that we need to find the results of the election immediately, right?
So if he can ban TikTok, if he can shut it down, then why doesn't he shut down NBC or the New York Times or the Wall Street? I mean, I don't understand.
I'm sure he would love to.
Well, but I don't think he has any more authority to shut down TikTok than he does to shut down the New York Times.
No, I mean, I think like many things he just says them in the moment, whatever comes into his brain, he has no filter.
So, but then I blame the media, and I use that phrase broadly, because why would CNBC, this is the article that we're reading off of, report, Trump says he will ban TikTok through executive action, if in fact it's completely illegal. So why wouldn't the headline read, Trump fictitiously claims he has powers that would be more the tune of a, whatever,
because the media never is like, time and time again has, I don't know, for whatever reason, does not want to say that he's lying or that he has limited power and can't do the things that he says. I don't know. And I think some of it is, this is where I see the media sometimes as being complicit. Like they come up with these really salacious headlines because they kind of poke the bear, right? Like a headline that even infers that TikTok might go away is going to drive more clicks than, oh, the president wants to do a thing that he can't do.
Yeah, that makes me very, very sad. I mean, I'm sure that's the right answer, but it's very, very sad.
Yeah.
So we flash forward, TikTok doesn't get shut down. Oh, the other thing is, I guess young people are using TikTok to do all of this anti-Trump stuff. There's a great big anti-Trump TikTok community.
Mm-hmm. You know what's interesting is I don't really even understand how TikTok fits in with Microsoft's overall corporate strategy, because they've been very developer focused for the last few years. They've invested tremendously in Azure. Obviously, Xbox is doing really well. They do a lot to contribute to the open source community. So TikTok for me almost signals like, does Microsoft actually want to invest more in consumer?
So one of the things I read said essentially Microsoft missed the whole social media thing. Mm-hmm. And when this came up for sale, it was opportunistic. It wasn't like they had a consumer strategy. It was more like, oh, wait, like we can afford it. And it would put us in the game with Facebook and Twitter and Google and all those guys. And we can't afford to be out. So.
Yeah, I don't know. This feels like when they missed the mobile thing too.
But they own Minecraft.
It's true. Yeah.
So maybe you could just send your Minecraft kids over to TikTok.
Yeah, I mean, sure.
Yeah, it does make a lot of sense to me. I would like to put my vote in to defend TikTok's. You know, what's weird is I'm still not clear whether Trump's attacking them because they're Chinese or because they're anti-Trump or just because he needs a headline every day. And you've heard me say this before. I literally think he has a notepad of things he could do to win the daily news cycle. And he goes,
yeah, and of course, anything that distracts us from the 33% shrink in GDP,
yeah,
or I don't know, unemployment, coronavirus,
dead Americans, yeah. So I think he's got this list, and I think he picks it up every morning and goes, "Fire Jared." Not today. All right, let's see, fire, and then he's got all his, all the acting cabinet members. I can fire, fire Mnuchin. I don't know. Fire Betsy DeVos. Right? Because that he can just.
It's like a reality TV show. It's like The Apprentice.
It is very much like, yeah. So let's take a second and go to this Twitter hack story.
Yeah, we talked about this a few weeks ago, and they found the kids.
They found the kids,
and they're like literally kids. It's like.
But like. I wasn't sure from the piece that I found, the WFLA piece, like what, like, was it part of some larger conspiracy, or was it just a bunch of kids?
No, I mean, it is a 17-year-old, so, not a legal adult, a 17-year-old in Tampa, Florida, who orchestrated the whole thing and had two accomplices in the UK. And again, I mean, we talked about it on the show, but I mean, $100,000 in Bitcoin, like That's probably the thing that's like the most comical about it. It's actually not even really like a lot of money.
No, it's going to be you're going to be in
That's
jail for,
their legal fees alone.
and they will go to prison. Well, I don't know. How will that work? Will the UK extradite the two accomplices? Will they punish them in the UK?
That I'm not sure. I mean, the article really focused on this kid Graham and how he was put in jail.
I think his punishment should be being locked in a room with a pitcher of water and Jack Dorsey for like a week and a half.
Yeah, I mean, you take a kid like this, and I'm like, the government should hire him to basically do, white hat like security infosec on behalf of the government.
I mean, but I'm sorry, I didn't read deeply into the article just because I was reading the other ones. Did they say how he did it?
No, they didn't.
Okay, good. So I'm not missing. It may be somewhere out on the internets, but I didn't see it. But
I mean, I just know they just said that it was a complex nationwide investigation, and so I think what we know from the last time is that it was through Twitter's internal systems that, and over like hundreds of Twitter employees had access to those systems.
But okay, but somebody had to give him the keys.
Yeah,
I guess we'll find that out.
Yeah, I mean, but like a hacker could probably get into my computer or your computer right now, and then us not being in an office, like tied, like hardwired into like IT protocols, it's easy enough to even like record someone's screen as they're doing something.
Okay, that's creepy. I have a feeling you know this better than I do, but yeah. But how will they get him to tell what he's done? I mean, the federal government. I mean, we know how to. They could just waterboard him.
Yeah, it'll also be interesting given his age. Will he be tried as an adult?
Can you waterboard minors? I just wanted to make sure you heard that I said that. All right, so we're going to find out. In some ways, it's good news because it means it's not good or bad.
Good, it's not like some foreign entity who found a bunch of like kids, brainwashed them to take action against the state.
And yet they only attack Democrats.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Well, and Jay-Z, whatever.
Right.
All right. So let's get to our last story because I want to spend some time on this one. So as we are known to do, we're always looking for unusual tech stories that we can kind of pop up into the ethos. And we found this one. This is a video game. This is from our friends at IEEE Spectrum. This is a video game that has actually been approved as a prescription medicine.
By the FDA.
By the FDA. Because they've got lots of time on their hands. And it's meant to treat ADHD.
Yep. It's a racing game, first person, and it's called Endeavor RX. And it was built by a team in Boston.
But it was built to treat attention deficit.
Mm-hmm.
It's not a game that kids play that happens to have so I guess my question is, what does it mean? Well, I mean, the underlying question, the one that jumped off the page for me is, if a video game can be a prescription medicine, that means that the FDA has acknowledged that video games have an impact on brain function.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but I think it's like dance therapy, for example, is something that exists. And so, I mean, I'm into the trend of the FDA acknowledging that drugs and chemicals, ingesting them is not necessarily the be all end all of treatment.
I also assume from the standpoint of the developers, it makes the game incredible. I mean, does that mean you can't play it without a prescription?
Oh, I didn't get that sense. I mean, I think I I interpreted it more as like, okay, anyone can play it, but if you are seeking treatment for ADHD, then a doctor can prescribe this as sort of an FDA sanctioned form of treatment.
Yeah, I read it twice because, it's anything. My understanding is anything that requires a prescription, you can't get with. It's not like you can go to the pharmacy and say, "I'd like aspirin with a prescription," or "I'd like aspirin just over the counter." Either it's like prescription generally means it's restricted, has some restricted use.
Yeah, I guess.
I mean, can you prescribe dance therapy?
I think a doctor could recommend it for sure.
It's covered by insurance.
Well, I will never make claims on what is covered and not covered because that's just a whole can of worms.
Indeed, it is. So, I thought this story was really important. We'll obviously include the links on the show notes. I thought it was really important because the subtext, and the one that I wanted to talk about on the pod, was that we're now beginning to understand that playing video games, working on a computer, doing things that you interact with in a visual world have a deep biochemical impact on humans. Both which does mean, by the way, both positive and negative.
Yeah.
I mean,
yeah, and I think the part of what the expert they interviewed in this article was saying is like, you can study the sensory feedback that someone experiences from games or VR. And it also even, in some cases, a game is even encouraging you to move, right? And so there's some like even rehabilitation benefits that can happen with your joints, especially if it's repetitive movements.
Yeah, I could imagine. Look, we are moving into an era in which COVID is going to rapidly accelerate all kinds of remote medical procedures. Remote. I think I may have said a couple of weeks ago, I had my first regular annual physical or checkup online with my doctor and a video camera.
Oh, wow. Do you have like a scale at home? Do they like, how did that work?
It was pretty terrible. No questions about, nothing like, the basic stuff they usually do, which is take a deep breath. How does this feel? How does this feel? None of that. To be honest, it felt more like it was on the calendar that I had to have a physical. And in order for him to bill the insurance, he needed to say, I did a video physical. I did a video appointment. But
weird.
Yeah, not impressive. Not
cool. I think this happens in places like maybe like Hawaii, like oh gosh, I have to find this link, but like imagine a future experience where your doctor, or maybe you even have it, like a USB stethoscope, right? And then it's like you plug it into your computer and then you put the stethoscope on your chest and then the doctor can hear it.
If you think about just a basic physical, there's a whole bunch of things they do. They look in your eyes, they put a tongue depressor, they look at your mouth. It's a whole bunch of stuff that you're not going to be able to do with someone sitting in front of a computer, and particularly on a cell phone.
Yeah, no, that's what I'm saying. I think like if there are like USB medical devices that, can allow a doctor to see, that would be interesting.
Yeah, but not to feel.
That's true. Yeah.
Yeah, no, I understand why everyone's zooming toward that as an outcome, but it seems to me, it might be a good economic result, but it seems to me being a doctor sitting in front of a computer all day, talking to people on a computer, and not really be able to have any kind of connect. As it is, they have very little time to have a connection with you. No.
So one thing I was thinking about with this video game article is like I think one of the effects of COVID and quarantining and social distancing that we're not going to understand for a while is, people who struggle with mental health, physical ailments, etc. I mean, we actually just don't have some of the tools at our disposal that we're used to, whether that is going to church, going to gym, going to yoga, like being around friends, family, physical touch. And so it wouldn't surprise me if whether it's video games, art therapy, I don't know, like home exercises, like we're just going to see this, like, I don't know, a lot of like exponential development in these areas over the next year. Because how else are we supposed to cope? Like if we think about health and wellness as sort of like mind, body, spirit, then yeah, we're not operating at our best right now.
I think that is true. And I think that, when Google, for example, says no one's going to be back in the office till easily July of next year, I'm not sure anyone's quite put their head around, like, so I'm not going to lie. I've now eaten out on the street on the Upper West Side 3 or 4 times, and it's been very nice.
Mm-hmm.
It's going to get cold. First, it's going to get a little cold in the fall, and then we're going to go eat out in these tables with jackets on. Then they're going to bring heat lamps out, and it's going to be kind of like cozy and weird. And then it's going to be winter, and it's going to be like, all right, this doesn't work anymore. And that's going to be, late November, December, January, February, March.
And your prediction was right. A few weeks ago, you said, when we have really hot days in New York, it's going to kill outdoor dining. I mean, it happened. I think it was like last Sunday. It felt like 100 degrees. And I was like, there's no way I'm stepping outside.
Nope. So I do think, I think that it's going to challenge all kinds of cabin fever, live in a small apartment, kids running around, dogs, cats, mass hysteria. I think, and we haven't even talked about school. Oh, maybe we should do maybe next week we should do education as a half hour. I think maybe we should do a whole show on not higher ed. Save that for another day.
No, I would actually like homeschooling, how parents are coping with their kids, no summer camp. Like there's a lot in that space.
All right. Well, we are out of time for today's show, but next week I think we will do school because it'll give me a chance to think about school. And I have a lot of friends who've asked me about it and we've talked about it. So that is the plan. And,
all right.
And we are out of time. So I am going to go and play the animation.